Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Enjoying Orange Slice with Jeff and Ian. We got Ian back from the other side of the world where he was entertaining all the wonderful people of Israel. He's back. We're back. Enjoy.
Hello, stranger. How are you, Jeff Sharples?
Hello, Lord Begg. I'm good. Welcome back to North America.
Look at you. You got Jeffrey D's iPhone up on your thing. Who's Jeffrey?
Oh, do I?
Yes,
Is that what it says? That's me, Jeffrey D. I'm switching it up this week.
Jeffrey the.
You go out of the country and I put a free on the end of it.
I went out of the country and I my phone bill went up by $10 a day. That's what happened to me. Oh my goodness. So we missed last week because Jeff was working a lot. His schedule's been crazy. I, of course, was at home just waiting to do the show with bated breath, and I was just waiting to do there. But I had no idea that it was going to be so difficult. But you were working. I was in Israel. I went on my what do they call it? I went on my retreat. I don't know what I went. I went to find myself. Went to Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Bet Shemesh, and we did all these shows in Israel, and one of them was in a gym, like this in a gymnasium. And here's the best part about it. We didn't do the show until 9:30 because we were preempted by kids judo.
Nice.
They couldn't. We have comedians coming, but the kids judo first. So yeah.
You know, that's when you know you've made it.
Oh.
But I mean, you can't knock the kids out of that time slot.
No.
Right? You don't want to be a jerk and do that. You know, I remember when I made it in aviation. Remember that? Because I called you and I told you when I made it.
You said, I'm here.
I said, I know I've made it because my hotel is between the lumber mill, and the Greyhound bus station. And you had to walk through a metal detector to get into the bar. So this is kind of similar, right?
Oh,
you know, you've made it when the kids preempt you and you go to a gymnasium in another country at 9:30 at night to do comedy
at night, and it was awesome. It was good. We had a shuttle van, and I thought it was a guy's work van. That was
yeah. Like, did you sit on some lunch buckets in the back or something?
Basically,
like a Gatorade tub or something.
It was basically what was going on. I was just like, well, this is interesting. All right, here we go. Let's just have fun. So we had fun. It was he had to come back and get us later because he had to drop somebody else off. I was like, every time we went into a room, like I thought for sure we were getting COVID because we were just meeting strangers left and right. We'd go into a green room and there'd just be somebody sitting in there on their phone hanging out, and I'm like, who's that guy? Oh, he works around the corner and he's taking a break. So
yeah, but we talked about this? The NFL ended COVID about 3 weeks ago. So you're good. So
right.
More.
All right, and then a war. now we got something else. Now we got a war. And one of my jokes was, I'm pretty sure you guys were happy to turn on the TV and see it was not you involved.
Oh man, did they like that one?
They loved it.
Did you get escorted out back to the van?
That was the one that didn't get me escorted out. We'd have to do meet and greets every night where we'd be on stage and they'd ask us questions. What do you think of Israel? I go, a lot of Jews here. They love that too. It was a good time.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
I was going to wait to ask you this, but I was looking. It's like, did you on the way back? Did you stick your head outside the plane window the whole way? Because you're pretty red.
Very red.
You're like,
I'm checking my blood.
Serious.
I'm checking my blood pressure as soon as I get off this.
Yeah, like, did you have your arm out the side, like on top of the roof there, with your head out the window, just getting like that's the most serious windburn you got there. Take it easy your first day back in the States. You don't have to walk the dogs for 6 hours. It's warm down in SoCal right now. For those that don't know, what's it, 80 plus there today, 25 Celsius?
Yeah, it's 80, it's 82
yeah.
Like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, 25, 26 Celsius for our Canadian friends and our Aussie friends that we don't want to forget about them. But yeah, I was looking at you and I was like, I was going to hold on to that, but it popped into my head. I'm like, did he stick his head out the window on the way back to get some fresh air or something?
You look the most most pale I've seen you. I'm over here red as can be. Yeah, I was. I have no idea what was going on. Apparently, I'm looking for some sleep or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm red.
I gotta get the Trumper tanning bed back and work on my base, get my orange back again.
Get my glow. Get your glow. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, all that went down, and also hockey.
Yes.
My intro every night was the fourth most popular hockey podcast in Australia, and every night it got a huge laugh. In America, it doesn't. In Israel, it did. How crazy was that?
Yeah, that is crazy. Maybe we're going to pick up some followers over there. Maybe we could jet up, to number 3 in Israel. I'm not sure how much hockey they pay attention to over there, but if we could get on the podium, like that's all we're asking for from Australia. We just want to get on the podium.
Right.
But 4th, we got the participation medal.
Yeah, we're just sitting watching them get medals.
Yeah.
My favorite part was they'd ask every night, well, who's beating you? That's what they want to know.
I know that's exactly what I'm kind of wondering too, but I don't know. There's a big connection with Canada and the States with the Aussies. So they're probably tuned in to like 32 Thoughts or Spittin' Chicklets.
Oh, look at you giving out everybody.
Yeah, I know. I'm good. And I got to get Hershey in there too. And Blindsided. Probably listening to Blindsided. So
listen to Blindsided.
Yeah.
It's all a very interesting thing, and there's all good hockey podcasts out here, but this is the only one that comes from Terrace, British Columbia, where one guy went to the NHL and the other one played hockey in a monkey movie. This is nobody can compete with that. By the way, I got one of these in the San Francisco airport. How great's that one?
Oh, that's really cool. Look at that. It's kind of you know what, it's fading into the background there a little bit, but it looks good. Oh, it's there. It's like a magic trick. Talking about magic, you know what? I met Matt Franco last week, who does a residency here in Vegas. Really cool guy. So I just going to throw that out there. I don't know why.
Speaking of magic.
Let's talk about it. The magical game of hockey.
Is Marner's nickname the Magic Man?
Well, it should be after the other night. That's a great nickname. So when I got one of the jobs I was at over the years, when you get hired at an airline, you get a sim partner. So, coming from hockey, I was like, well, we got to give everyone a nickname.
Everybody?
Yeah. So one of the two of the guys were El Diablo and the Magic Man from Ricky Bobby, because we called the one guy the Magic Man because now you'd see him and now you don't. He'd just be gone in the middle of class. It's like, hey, you might want to sit in here for some of this, but be off getting a coffee or wherever he was. But then we had one guy we named the Hawk. You know the Hawk.
Yeah, I know the Hawk.
Yeah, the Hawk. Yeah.
So why he got called the Hawk. We won't talk.
Yeah, that's a great story. He thinks it's because he's a big Blackhawks fan, but we all know better. He's a Hawk because he's sharp as a hawk. He's smart
everything. Guy. He's up in the plane and spot things from a million miles away.
There or in the bar, one of the two.
Hey, you know who flies planes? Who's a big went out with the snowbirds? Tim Hunter.
Yeah.
Is he a pilot? I didn't know that.
I didn't know he was either, but I did see the video of him flying around. And that's the guy we've talked about over the years. And just kind of wondering if he's ever going to give it another go or get another shot in the show. Like,
I'd hire him.
Because everyone talks about what a great
speaking of that.
Yeah, you know what happened? Just on cue, I got to get rid of that. You know what? That just happened. Like it did in Ricky Bobby. That was the Hawk calling me.
No way. He's just like,
yeah.
You guys talking about me?
Yeah, that's how smart he is. So that's why I went off for a second. But Tim Hunter, all the guys that played with him, we talked about him in the past, loved him, highly respected hockey guy, and got up with the Snowbirds, which is one of the greatest aerial teams, because they are a team, but they do an unbelievable job.
Acrobat, right? Acrobat flying, is that what they do?
Well, they're just a demonstration team for the Canadian military, but check this out.
All right.
They are going to be in Terrace this summer, my mom told me, at the air show. They're doing an air show in Terrace, our hometown, this summer, the Snowbirds, Canadian Snowbirds. And they're up there, right up there with the Blue Angels and the United States Air Force Thunderbirds. All three of those guys, I love to watch them perform. Anyways, I feel like I just was went into Don Cherry's body. I'm like, okay, good, let's move on. But what do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about? Well, we were talking about Marner, and then we ended up on planes.
Oh, yeah.
And then we talked about Tim Hunter, and then we talked about Terrace having an air show.
Well, let's talk about
this show works.
Yeah, well, we're kind of all over the place today because we're both a little sleep deprived from our last week. More you than me.
No, and, I'm fine.
I kind of feel like I should come down there and drive you down to have that burn checked out, but down to ER.
I have my lights. I'm gonna turn off my lights so it's not shining on me as bad.
Oh, I love it. No, so I'm sure anyone who's a hockey fan knew last week that Detroit and Toronto had a game for the ages. Oh, that looks really good. And Toronto ended up beating them 10-7. I think that's awesome. You were younger. You're about what, a little bit younger than me, right? You're mid-30s now. Yeah, that's right. Do you remember? And the people out there a little older will remember this. You young people will not remember this. Daryl Sittler had 11 points one night in Toronto, captain of the Maple Leafs, on a Hockey Night in Canada game. And I think they played Boston that night, or it was Buffalo. It wasn't as many teams back then. But that's what that game reminded me of. Daryl Sittler, the great Toronto Maple Leaf player. He got 11 points one night. I think he had 5 goals and 6 assists.
That was
when
when
they beat. It was 11-7 or 11-9 that game. This game wasn't far off it.
That's when you could have a 6.54 save percentage as a goalie and still end up at the All-Star game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the saves percentages back then, I don't even know what they would have been, but
around
even
7.5.
Yeah. Then they went up into the mid 80s, right? High 80s. And now, you're a slug if you don't have a 91 saves percentage. It's crazy.
Yeah. A question for you, Bill. We're talking about how great this game was, but Toronto's goalies have skidded into the ditch in the last couple of weeks. Jack's struggling. Mrazek's not himself. It's just I don't know. There. Look at the show.
Hey, look, we got the green screen behind me because I haven't been able to put up the slices in about 8 weeks now. But they're struggling there. Good. Toronto seems like it's just a plank to walk as a goalie. You're not going to come back. You're jumping in the water. I don't know. What do you think they trade for a goalie? I don't think it's worth it. Well, it's always the same thing in Toronto. And then if you just look down the street in Carolina, who just won 5 in a row, there's a guy by the name of Freddie Anderson that just spent the last 3-4 years in Toronto. And you could have found anyone in Toronto to give him a ride to the airport to get him out of town. So they gotta figure it out. Campbell has, I think one of the things is we haven't talked about Jack Campbell on the podcast as much recently. And so maybe we got to get him, a little bit of airtime again. Because he is a big fan of Lord Bagg, for those of you who do not know. And I've seen it for myself firsthand at Comedy and Magic in Hermosa Beach, California. Jack's been there to support you. And a guy told me the other day that it's opening back up again.
It's reopening.
There you go.
Who told you, Franco?
No, a guy I was flying with that lives in Hermosa Beach. I said, I got to tell Ian. I was like, hang on, can we pull over here? I got to tell Ian that the comedy club, which is really one of your all-time favorite comedy clubs, right?
Absolutely.
And Jack Campbell used to come down and support Ian, and a bunch of the Kings did. Daryl, our friend Daryl, up in Calgary, Sutter was there one night. We had a chat with him. So, anyways, we got to get Jack Campbell.
Dana, do you know who brings all of them out and they become regulars? Is Dana. Dana Bryce, our one of the equipment managers there, and for the Los Angeles Kings, brings out coaches and staff and players, and big supporter. One of the best comedy clubs ever. But they do not thrash their goalies like Toronto does at that club.
No, I'm not even sure Jack Campbell would go out right now without some kind of disguise on in Toronto. And he was all the rage.
That's right? That's one of his problems. He's one of those guys that wears his personality on how good he plays. And when he doesn't do that, he calms down and plays even better. But, he gets his self-worth from his playing of hockey. And a lot of guys do that, right? That's when they skid themselves into the ditches.
Right. Well, he's in the hockey hotbed. He's in Toronto. They've won a Stanley Cup since '67.
That's a Raptors.
Yeah, that's right. Well, here's the thing with Toronto. If they could just get to the first round, that would be a momentous occasion. And, I can tell you from watching Jack Campbell when he used to come through here with the Kings, when Vegas, he didn't play a lot, but he came in and he played on his head here in Vegas. And Vegas still is buzzing. But when he came in and would steal some games for the Kings and play really well, that place was bananas. And, obviously the last couple of years has taken the wind out of a lot of people's sails. Although I will say the building was hopping for Colorado last Saturday, but Campbell would come in, they're rivals from the Kings, and he played great. So it's in him. He's proven it. Everybody goes through some ups and downs. The problem is in Canada, as we know, and is everywhere he goes, they're going to know who he is. They're not going to know who he is in LA in a lot of places, right? So that's just one of the things you just have to deal with. And you got to quiet the mind down a little bit in Canada. And I don't think that's real easy all the time.
It's not easy at all. And I don't know if he's quite there mentally as a full-time goalie too. He's able to pull those games when, there's not as much pressure on him. He might not go in the next game. I think those back-to-backs may get to a guy. Like goaltenders are a different breed completely, but also it's a different position with the amount that you play. You play 60 minutes back to back to back to back. And especially when they ride you, like if they don't have a second one, it's interesting. I don't know how they don't do it with mental fatigue.
Philadelphia is another place where goaltending they're always all over their goalies. But if you look at teams that love to go back and forth, that'll skate end to end with you. Colorado, well, they were all over Kemper at the start of the year. Now Kemper's really found his groove. Colorado's tightened it up a little bit defensively. They've only lost 10 games. They're like 82 points already. I mean, if they got five more wins the rest of the year, that would get them in the playoffs. I mean, it's insane. And then you have Toronto, say Philly, Edmonton. These are teams that'll like to go back and forth with you. It's the same complaint in Edmonton. Our goaltending. Toronto, our goaltending. But these guys, if you look at some of the chances that these teams gives up, and Philly's another one that does it, the Rangers like to go back and forth with you. They give up some incredibly crazy chances. It's just that their goalie this year has been on his head in New York. But in Toronto, okay, so you get let a softie in or a one that maybe you should have had. It compounds itself because that is the game. Yeah, the Raptors are up there and the Blue Jays are up there, and those are big drawing teams.
That goal is going to be on TV, on the radio, on the internet. It's just going to be in your face no matter what. Yeah.
So, part of this is he doesn't play in Dallas or St. Louis where they're going to lock it down in front of you. Winnipeg trades chances a little bit too, but they got Hellebuck. They were on him for a while. Halley's not playing the way he normally plays. Well, you know what? When you give these NHL shooters the puck 10 feet, 15 feet out in front of you, and they got you moving from one place to another, they're going to score a lot of times. And in Toronto, they give up a lot of grade A chances. For those of you that are not hockey savvy, it's just like the eggs in the supermarket. You get the grade A eggs because they're the best. Grade A chances in hockey. That's the top of the top. And if you're giving up 10 to 15 of those a night, you're counting on your goalie to really stand on his head. And I think that is my concern with Toronto is, are you able to lock it down and play defensively to give your goalie a chance? Because they're good enough. If they get average NHL goaltending, they're good enough to win a round or two. But if they don't, and they give up those huge chances, then they got to play.
They got to play defensively. The goalie's got to play well, and they still have to have their forwards. Defensively, they've lost Muzzin for at least a couple weeks. That's the third head injury he's had since he's gotten to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's one of those. Seen him taken off the ice at least twice, maybe 3 times on a stretcher.
Yeah. That's a huge loss for the Leafs, right? And when you start talking about anything in the head, look at Vegas. Martinez got kicked in the head, got cut with a skate, early in the season. He's still not back.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we want to. The Leafs, to me, as soon as they lost Muzzin last year in the playoffs, right? I think it was in the Montreal series, and that was
the year before.
Yeah, they lost him, and then that ship sailed. Right? They had Montreal on the ropes, and then that was the end of it. Montreal came back, and this guy, he was a dynamic player. Maybe not your frontline guy in LA like Kopitar and say Doughty were, but he was right there. He was a great supporting actor, and then he moved up to Toronto, and they traded. And it just goes to show, you pull him out of the lineup, makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know how you can keep looking on that guy when obviously he's not. Oh man, I'm speaking of bad brains. He's not going to. That brain injury is not going to get better. Like his being concussed for that long a period of time is like you got to really kind of think, oh, okay, do we start looking for somebody else? Even though you don't want to, because he's such a great player, such a great guy, you don't want to go, oh, we'll just get rid of him. But at the same time, if you could get 2 for 1 for him.
There's 2 things that I want to address in the NHL that I think needs to be taken out of the game. Number 1 is the slew foot. I just saw one again the other night in the Anaheim Islander game. It wasn't a huge slew foot, but Zegras kind of took out Pajot's feet. They both went to the box. And then Corrali took out Malkin's feet in the Columbus-Pittsburgh game the other night, slew-footed him. And Malkin's a big dude, and he went down like a sack of on the ground. They got to get rid of the slew foot. I'm not even sure how we got over here, but we're getting to the concussion. So the slew foot is one, the concussion and the head injuries are the other. And the other night, Dylan took a run at Makar in Colorado and squished his head up against the glass. Makar kind of went down, went to the bench. He stayed in the game. But I know it's fast, but those are 2 areas that you have got to take out of the game, because on the slew foot, it's a back and a head injury because you have no way to protect yourself up against the glass or anywhere when you target the head. These are life-altering injuries, right? Not only on the ice for your team, but in your after the game. So
that's right. That's the big thing. That's what I mean about Muzzin. Like at some point, you got to think, hey, it's quality of life. We got to be concerned about this guy.
There's inadvertent times when guys get tangled up, and and I get that. It's a fast game. It's a physical game. Hey, you look much better now. You got some light on. But I think that concussion thing, especially a guy like Muzzin, and then I saw Makar, one of the top guys in the league. McKinnon got Patrick in Vegas a couple weeks ago. He's still out. It's just, I know it's fast, but we got to find a way to eliminate those headshots and try and take that out of the game. And that's that. I mean, a guy like Muzzin, like you say, second or third time since he's been in Toronto, he's been out for an extended period.
Yeah, trouble. And then the slew foots. Was what's his face Malkin? Was he hurt on that the other day?
No, he was. I mean, he was shook up. Corrali went to the box. They scored in the power play. Malkin helped set it up. So he got back on the ice. But I know he's a big guy, and I think sometimes guys are just trying to play hard against these guys and limit space out there. But yeah, it was nasty. He shook it off, got up, and then Pittsburgh ended up winning the game. Hey, I have a question for you. I know you've been out of the country. There's 2 teams that are won their last 5 in a row. Do you want me to give you a hint on one of them? There's 2 teams that have won 5 in a row. One that made changes recently, and one that's been great
Edmonton,
all year.
Was it Edmonton was one of them? Did Edmonton do 5 in a row?
Well, they were doing no, but they're not one of the teams. They have been much better though.
Have they lost? Has this 5 in a row lost any since? Or are we still at 5 in a row?
No, both these teams are 5 in a row going into tonight's action.
Montreal would be one of them.
Yes, Montreal, on. And at one end of the spectrum.
One end of the spectrum. The other end is me. That kind of spectrum. The other one would be is it the Avalanche?
No, they're I think the Avalanche are 4-0-1 in their last five. I think they lost in an overtime game. I'll have to double check
Why?
that.
You know what's tough? You know why it's tough for me to say it, because there's been so many teams on these tears where they've won so many. Yeah.
I'll help you out because we're trying to stay to 30 minutes. Carolina.
Carolina's starting to ramp it up for the playoffs, are they?
Yeah, and St. Louis is right there as well.
That's what I mean. Like St. Louis is there, the Avalanche, Edmonton,
Vancouver's been playing well.
Vancouver's been playing well, and then I think they were playing guilty the other night when they lost. I don't think they stepped it up. I think they went out. When they were in New York, they went out and they were playing guilty.
When they went out in the city.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one not to go out in. Let's go to Montreal, though. Wow, that quite the change. Quite the change. What's going on there? Do you think it was the coaching that was that big of a deal, or did they just kind of step it up because they said, "Oh, I guess we aren't expected to lose every game this year"?
I don't know. It's really interesting. They got on a roll last year, and they just kept going, and they got, guys were playing way above what they would normally provide, right? But that's the way it is, and what a time to do it in the playoffs. And this year, the guys are playing way below what they normally provide. So I guess in life, it has a way of evening out. But Montreal came in, they took a flyer on Marty St. Louis, who'd never had one game of professional coaching experience, but he's got this 12, these 12, a philosophy, and I think it's like 12 steps or 12 things he believes in. And, he's got these guys believing, and it's been really, really impressive to watch what Montreal's done. And it just after last season with what happened in the expansion draft, losing Weber, exposing Price in the expansion draft, then they lost some guys, and the draft pick, the kid they drafted that, had basically renounced themselves from the draft, and everything kind of added up in a unfriendly direction. If you're a Canadiens fan, it finally bottomed out, I guess, when they cleared out their coaching, the head coach, and they brought in Marty St. Louis, who's a breath of fresh air.
Seemed like they were at the bottom for a while. It seemed like they dragged along the bottom for about 4 or 5 games too.
Yeah, they were dragging. There's no question. They bring in some new energy, and I think if you look at, and I'm trying to go around the league to see where coaching, like if you look at what happened in Florida when Quenneville got let go, they kept going. Now they've hit a skid in the last week where they've dropped a few, but I look at Montreal similar to Vancouver. Boudreau brought in a totally different atmosphere, and I think that's what Marty St. Louis done too. Plus, as a player, all those guys know that Marty St. Louis was, Stanley Cup winner. So,
right.
And I remember playing against Marty St. Louis when he first came in. I believe it was in Cleveland in the International League, and he was the hardest working guy on the ice. And I think that's still the case. And now he's a coach, and it's like in Carolina. Those guys are trying to stay in as good a shape as their head coach, Rob Brindamore, and all the respect they have for him. I think it shows in the way they play. So far in Montreal, I think it's very similar.
I honestly think it's when those coaches come in, they're able to just open the curtain a little bit and say, "Hey guys, look, there's sunlight out there." I think it's such a dark place and lighten it up. Whereas the coaches that are there, they're in the same spot the players are. That's you can really tell. I'm blanking on what's his name's face in Montreal that was coached there, but Travis Green, Ducharme, he could not see the sun, and neither could Travis. Like they're, which is, I know they're supposed to be the ones that are leaders, but sometimes the coaches can't do it either, right?
Well, and think of it this way: if you don't think that your general manager, or most cases the general manager, isn't in your ear, your coach's ears on a daily basis, they are. Some of them are kind of hands off, a little bit more low key, but the majority of the time, these coaches are having daily conversations. Remember, these general managers are the guys that brought these players in. So they see it from a certain way, 200 feet above the ice, 100 feet above the ice, right? When in the press box, when they watch a game, where it's a totally different game behind the bench. And so they're bringing their view from the 100 feet above down to the coach who sees it on the ice level. And yeah, I think there's some benefits to watching from above. The game is much slower there, but there's some things that the coaches see on the ice the casual observer would never see. And if you talk about coaches, like you look around and Boudreau's got a long track record where Marty St. Louis doesn't have any track record, but these guys are both helping change narratives in their organizations, which is terrific. Now, let's just talk about some of the coaches, as is Woodcroft in Edmonton. Let's talk about some of the coaches that got relieved this year. Quenneville was one of the all-time greats. He got relieved for different reasons. But Vigneault in Philly, and they're struggling, and Tippett in Edmonton, those two are very well-regarded coaches. Those guys have coached for a long time, a lot of respect around the league.
Vigneault, when he was left, he got let go for the other reason. I think that was all left intact, right? Like everything was left intact. His belief system of how to play the game. I think those coaches just picked up and moved on with that. Whereas in Edmonton, obviously somebody had checked out on that, and I'm guessing it was McDavid, right? Because they weren't listening to Tippett at all. And Tippett was, his big record that he had that he loved. He'd never been fired during the season. You know that?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think
Kenny fired in August.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Kenny Holland the GM in Edmonton, had ever fired a coach during the season either. So, but records are made to be broken. What?
Those players had bought out. You've been in a dressing room where people have been fired.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So give us an insight from you when somebody gets fired. Is it because everybody's just like it's time for him to go, or can you guys just honestly not see the tree through the forest? How is it, or is it different for each coach?
Well, the message obviously is really waned, right? It isn't getting through anymore. And you saw it. There was games there where McDavid and Draisaitl, who are back doing their thing again, but just weren't producing. And that might not all be on the coach either. There could be a number of different things that's going on, but yeah, I mean, when that happens and the team's going through a skid, normally it's a player or something that they'll try and shake up, but they can't, like they always used to say, they can't trade all the players. Mm-hmm. So the coach is the guy that ultimately pays the price. And, I would say Kenny was more than patient trying to turn things around in Edmonton with Tippett. Didn't work out. And same thing in Philly. Vigneault got let go a little earlier in the year, obviously, but the results are still middling in Philly, whereas the results have improved.
More than just the coaching staff in Philly, you can tell, because nothing's changed there, and just Yo's just getting burnt in the press there. But they always say don't ever go with an assistant coach because he's basically bringing the same message from a different face, right? Or same message from a recognizable face, so it doesn't really change anything.
Well, Yo has head coaching experience. Woodcroft was down in the minors. So the one thing that Yo's in Philly, right? So he's had head coaching experience in St. Louis and in Minnie. So he brings that with him, and probably a way he likes to do business. Woodcroft was down in Bakersfield in the Edmonton's American League team. Yeah. So he'll know a lot of these young guys that they're trying to introduce in the lineup. So he's had them. Plus he's a breath of fresh air for the veterans. So he knows the organization really well, and they know him really well. And for those of you that might or might not know, might not care, the relationship with the assistant coaches and the relationship with the head coach is totally different. Mm-hmm. You can have some fun with the head coach, but the head coach is on a different level, different way of thinking. Your buddies in the coaching staff are your assistant coaches. They're the guys you can joke with, right? Have some fun with. They're the guys that are going to pull you aside and go, hey, listen, maybe have a look at this. Whereas if the head coach sometimes has got to go to you, it's not going to be so pretty. So that's the difference. And so Woodcroft now in Edmonton, he knows these guys. He's been a part of the organization for years. There's some trust there. And you know what, like you said, the curtain's been opened up a little bit. There's a little bit of light behind it. And now Edmonton and I guess Florida's another one, lost their coach, but these guys are skating towards the light. And obviously the results and Vancouver too, and the results are showing.
And Woodcroft is, I think it's a great $14 bottle of wine.
Jeez. I've never seen you buy a bottle of wine in your life, and 14's way more than you'd spend on anything, anyways.
Oh. Just takes me back.
Unless it was at Lucille's, then you'd spend more than you'd spend some more on some barbecue. That's it.
I do a nice little joke there, and you're like, you wouldn't buy a bottle of wine.
Maybe I'm the guy that was flying for the last 15 hours.
Just snaps. Let's wrap it up. Anything else we want to say this week? And we didn't get the show in last week, and we apologize. But we've only missed one or two in the last year and a bit. So screw you.
Well, we appreciate people texting and reaching out and asking where things were. But
everybody okay?
Yeah, everybody's good. Well, we tried actually last Tuesday or Wednesday to put it out, but it was like 2 a.m. in Israel, and things were kind of haywire. So we were like, let's do like we did with the Thanksgiving special, take a week off and really come out big.
Boom. So, and then I got taken down for a $14 bottle of wine.
Yeah. Yeah, we can wrap it up then.
We wrap it up. Here, I forgot I got a note the other day. Can we get Jeff not to wear glasses because there's a shine in it? So
there we go. Sorry, guys.
There.
It doesn't get any better than that. That's it.
It caught my
most people times listen. I'm like this. Yeah, they listen anyways. They don't want to look at us. But how's that? That's better. When I lift up.
Yeah, that's when it gets crazy.
I have like 3 lights, but the problem is I don't turn any of them on. I just use natural light because I think the darker it gets, the better I look. So that's kind of how we do it.
Red.
Oh, no, you're not as red anymore. You're looking good now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Hey. So
shout outs this week.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a shout out to my old buddy, Dougie Huda, the Detroit Red Wings defensive coach. and he runs their penalty killing. I almost texted him the other night and said, I was like, play defense, like, not like we used to play, but like an NHL defenseman would, but I couldn't carve him because that's just that was a little too close to the bone.
Minus 10 that night.
Oh my God. Hoods works really hard. Detroit is still on the outside looking in, but they still are there. It's going to be tough for them. They're 10 points or 12 points. I think they're 10 points behind or 12. So it's going to be really tough to catch Boston or Washington. But shout out to my boy, Dougie Huda, old defense partner. They've done a great job in Detroit. The Wings are on their way back, but you'd think 7 goals would be enough to win, but not the other night against Toronto. They needed 11.
Hardcore. Oh, good for them. Keep going, Doug. My shout out is well, I don't even have a shout out this week. I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm here for 36 hours and then I'm going to Chicago. I will be at the Chicago Improv, which is not in Chicago. It's in Schaumburg. I'll be there for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 shows. Come out and see me. Let me know you watch a show. And we forgot to do our advertisement. We got it. Our Super Deek is a proud sponsor of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. Super Deeker is a training system that will take your child from just being an average stick handler to one of those monsters that is doing the Michigan every 5 seconds and making people lose their pants on a breakaway. We each have a Super Deeker, and it's just a fun video game that you can play with a whole family, even if you don't play hockey. Just a little bit of sport in the house instead of just sitting and using your thumbs. You can use your whole body. To superdeeker.com. Use slices as the code and receive a discount. Superdeeker.com. Anyways, I'm not even doing it.
All right.
Shout out to my brain, which is mush.
All right. Love call.
Hey, everybody. Hope you had a good time. Once again, Orange Slices is back. Hope your team is doing well. Not every team in the NHL can do well. Remember, everybody can lose, but not everybody can win. Orange Slices. Checking us out.